all?
It is, yes.
And so now when we refer to paragraph 4, we'll be referring to the paragraph 4 in all the affidavits. If you could go ahead and read paragraph 4.
I quote, affidavits that several posts were put onto the fake Facebook page, in which one post indicated that the Parma police would be arresting residents who attempted to help homeless people in the city, and if they did help the homeless, they would receive 60 days in jail. Another post indicated that the Parma Police Department would be holding an event sponsoring teen abortions, and yet another post said that the Parma Police Department was accepting application and minorities need not apply. All of these posts purported to represent the Parma Police Department.
Okay, so now let's break down what you swore to under oath in paragraph 4. And you did take a solemn oath that this was true, correct?
Yes.
All right. So first, I note that you referred to it again as a fake Facebook page, correct?
Yes.
And that's true despite having already concluded that it was a joke, correct?
Yes.
And in addition, the reference to the post about a temporary law to starve homeless people out of Parma, you included a reference to the post about that post and wrote, one post indicated that the Parma police would be arresting residents who attempted to help homeless people in the city, and that if they did help the homeless, they would receive 60 days in jail, correct?
Yes.
Now, I'd like you to take that language in your affidavit and go compare it to the actual post. You can look at either Exhibit 4 or the Exhibit 3 screenshot, because it's there as well. Tell me when you're ready.
Okay.
Now, the actual language in the post said, in contrast to your paraphrasing, quote, due to the slow increase of a homeless population in our city, the Parma Police Department is pleased to announce that it will be introducing a new temporary law that will forbid residents of Parma from giving, all caps, any homeless, end all caps, person food, money, or shelter in our city for 90 days. This is an attempt to have the homeless population eventually leave our city due to starvation. Residents caught giving the homeless population food, shelter, or water will be sentenced to a minimum of 60 days in jail. You have been warned. Did I read that correctly? End of the quote? I did?
Yes.
All right. Now, you didn't tell the judge in your affidavits that the actual post included the phrase, the Parma Police Department is pleased to announce, did you?
Sir, I don't recall my direct conversation with the judge.
Well, I'm asking you in the affidavits, did you say the actual post included the phrase, quote, the Parma Police Department is pleased to announce, unquote?
That is not in the affidavit.
So you did not include it, correct?
Correct.
Why not?
I don't know.
Well, can we agree that the tone of, quote, pleased to announce, unquote, highlights the absurdity of what's in the post?
No.
So you don't find there to be anything about the words pleased to announce that underscore how ridiculous it is for Parma police to be happy to announce that they're banning feeding the homeless?
No.
Is that something you as an officer would be happy to announce?
No.
You think most of the officers you work with would be happy to announce such a thing?
Sir, I don't know.
Well, you've been working with them for a long time, right?
Yes.
By 2016, you'd been working there, you were in your 20th year, right?
Yes.
And so you knew your colleagues pretty well, right?
Yes.
And are there any of them you could think of, from your knowledge of them, who'd be pleased to announce that there's a ban on feeding the homeless?
I don't know.
You just don't know them that well. You didn't know them that well in 2016, right?
No.
You did not.
I did. No, that's not true.
So you knew them well, but you have no idea whether they'd be pleased to announce a ban on feeding the homeless.
That's correct.
You discuss at that point faith with your fellow officers.
No.
You discuss people's values, things that are important to them.
On occasion.
And despite that, you have no idea whether your fellow officers would have been pleased to announce a ban on feeding the homeless.
No.
No idea.
No.
I just want to be clear about your answer, meaning you have no idea.
Correct.
Now, you also, in paragraph 4 of the various affidavits that are before you as exhibits, you also didn't tell the court that the actual post said that the Parma Police Department, quote, will be introducing a new temporary law, unquote, right?
That is not in the affidavit.
And why not?
I don't know.
Can the Parma Police Department introduce laws?
No.
The Parma Police Department enforces laws, right?
Correct.
Anybody who's watched Law and Order knows that, right?
I don't know.
Anybody who's watched any sort of crime shows generally understands that the police department don't just make up laws, right?
I don't know.
You ever watch crime shows?
No.
You don't take your work home with you. All right. So I need to stop watching law shows, so I appreciate the advice. You didn't tell the judge in paragraph 4 of the affidavit that the actual post said, quote, this is an attempt to have the homeless population eventually leave our city due to starvation, correct?
Correct.
Why not?
I don't know.
Well, do you think that, you know the judge or judges that you were presenting this to, right?
Yes.
Judicial officers, you know them well?
Yes.
Okay. And knowing them as well as you do you think they would believe that such an assertion was true?
Which assertion are you referring to?
The assertion that this temporary law is an attempt to have the homeless population eventually leave our city due to starvation.
I would say no, they're judges. They know the laws.
Okay. Do you think reasonable Parma residents would think that was true?
I don't know what reasonable Parma residents would believe.
Well, do you think that the judges, if they had been told that, would think that reasonable Parma residents would think this was true? From your
So
familiarity
I'm not certain I
with them.
understand that question. Can you rephrase that, please?
Sure. From your familiarity with these judicial officers that you know well, do you think that those judicial officers would believe that reasonable Parma residents would think that the assertion that this temporary law is an attempt to have the homeless population eventually leave our city due to starvation is true?
Sir, I don't know.
Even from your familiarity with the judicial officers, right?
I don't know.
You have a hunch?
I'm sorry?
Do you have a hunch?
No.
Well, do you think that that assertion that this is an attempt to have the homeless population eventually leave our city due to starvation shows the post's absurdity?
No.
So that assertion is not absurd.
I don't believe so.
Do you think that that assertion makes the joke obvious?
No.
You think the post taken as a whole? You've already said that the post taken as a whole is absurd, right?
Yes.
Do you think that the post taken as a whole would make it obvious to the court that the post is absurd?
Possibly.
Is there something about the judges and your familiarity with them that makes you hedge on the answer to that question?
No, I just don't know what a judge is going to think. I don't know what anybody else is going to think.
Now, you also didn't tell the judicial officers, when you submitted paragraph 4, that the actual post ended with the sentence, quote, "You have been warned." Correct?
It's not in the affidavit.
Why not?
I don't know.
Well, how does that phrase sound to you as a reader?
I have no thought on that phrase.
A little sinister?
Perhaps.
Reminiscent of a totalitarian police state?
That would not have crossed my mind.
A dystopian novel?
I don't even know what that means.
I mean, just a story about an evil and overbearing government.
I don't know.
Does that phrase sound a little un-American to you?
Not necessarily.
So you don't necessarily think that it's un-American for a police department to order people to not feed the homeless subject to criminal penalty?
It's not what I stated.
Okay, well then what is it that you're trying to say when you say not necessarily un-American?
Sir, I recall you asked me a question, is that a little un-American? And I said, not necessarily.
Okay, how is it not necessarily un-American to attempt to have the homeless population eventually leave the city due to starvation?
And sir, going back, you asked me about this little sentence, "You have been warned." So that's
Okay.
what I'm referring to.
Fair enough. No, that's fair enough. Thank you for that. So the "you have been warned" is not necessarily un-American.
Yes.
And the "you have been warned" in the context of an edict not to feed the homeless population because the city's trying to get them to leave due to starvation, is that un-American?
I don't know.
You aware of that happening anywhere in America?
To my knowledge, no.
That sentence, "you have been warned," can we agree that it highlights the absurdity of the post?
I wouldn't agree to that.
You wouldn't agree to that even in the context of the post saying people are being warned not to feed the homeless so that the city of Parma can get them to leave due to starvation?
I still wouldn't agree to that.
But you do agree that the post taken as a whole is absurd.
Yes.
About the quote-unquote pedophile reform event post, correct?
Correct.
And that one read, if you could take a look at it, quote, "Update," in all caps, "The City of Parma Police Department will enact a pedophile reform event outside of St. Anthony of Padua's church on May 1st, 2016, in an attempt to reform pedophiles to normality. We will have multiple learning stations, including a, quote, no means no, unquote, station filled with puzzles and quizzes. Anyone who passes all of the stations will be removed from the sex offender registry and accepted as an honorarium police officer of the Parma Police Department. Have fun out there, exclamation mark. Did I read that correctly?
Yes.
Why didn't you tell the judicial officers about that?
I don't know.
Well, when you read this post, did you think that a reasonable reader would think that it was true?
Again, I gave no thought to a reasonable reader.
And as a detective, you normally work to catch sex offenders, right?
I have in the past, yes.
Right. When you were in the detective bureau assigned to sex offenses, you were working to catch sex offenders, right?
Correct.
Including pedophiles, right?
Correct.
And surely it offended you to even make a joke about supposedly reformed pedophiles becoming Parma police officers, right?
I wasn't offended by it.
Well, why not?
I take no offense to it.
You take no offense to the idea of the people who commit the worst kinds of imaginable crimes against children becoming your fellow police officers?
Well, sir, I know that's not going to happen. I'm not taking offense to this post.
Because it's inherently absurd, right?
Correct.
You didn't find this funny at all, though, right?
No.
Now, you also, in paragraph 4 of your affidavits, exhibits 5 through 8, didn't tell the judge about the post about the loitering African-American woman, which read in part, quote, "We have forgotten to post that on September 30th, 2015, at approximately 10 a.m., the Parma subway sandwich shop located at 5890 Broadview Road was robbed at knife point. The white male offender got away with a small amount of money and did not harm the clerk. Moments after, an unrelated African-American woman was seen loitering for over 20 minutes in front of the store despite their no loitering policy. If you have any information regarding this African-American woman's whereabouts, please contact the City of Parma Police Department so that she may be brought to justice," unquote. Did I read that correctly?
Yes.
And you didn't tell the judicial officers about that, right?
I did not.
When you read this post, did you think a reasonable reader would think it was true?
I didn't have a thought to a reasonable reader.
Again, because of a lack of training or direction by any officials in Parma, correct?
Correct.
Now, are you allowed to attach exhibits to affidavits when you're seeking a warrant?
Yes.
And would you agree that in the post that we just read, the idea that Parma police would be investigating an African-American woman seen loitering for over 20 minutes in front of a store despite a no loitering policy when there was a robbery committed by a white male is inherently absurd?
It is absurd.
Is it inherently absurd?
You'd have to define inherently for me.
Okay, well, I mean, just, is it obviously absurd?
I don't think so.
Okay, so there's something about the Parma Police Department that would make a reasonable person wonder whether the Parma police would actually do that?
I don't necessarily think something about the Parma Police Department. I just don't find it to be your definition of inherently absurd. I don't find that.
Okay, so, but you eventually understood that this was a joke, right?
Yes.
And you understood this was a joke by the time you were applying for affidavits from judicial officers, correct?
Yes.
But you didn't tell them that, correct?
About this post?
That it was a joke.
No, I did not.
And you also didn't tell them that about this post so they could see that it was a joke, correct?
Correct.
Going back to the issue of attaching affidavits when seeking a warrant, you can do that, right?
Attaching affidavits?
I'm sorry, thank you. Are you allowed to attach exhibits to affidavits when seeking a warrant? That was a question.
Yes.
Okay. And you did not attach screenshots of the actual post to the affidavits, correct?
I did not.
Why not?
I don't know.
Are you allowed to quote the posts in full in an affidavit seeking a warrant?
Sure.
You didn't quote the posts in full here?
I did not.
Why not?
I don't know.
When you paraphrase any text, you have to make decisions about what to include and exclude, true?
Yes.
You're making judgments, correct?
Yes.
And you have to reword things in a way that you consider accurate, correct?
Yes.
And you also have to reword things in a way that you also consider complete, correct?
Yes.
And you understand the seriousness of swearing an oath and submitting affidavits to judicial officers, that it's important that you be both accurate and complete, correct?
Yes.
And a paraphrase inherently includes your conclusion about what the original text meant, correct?
I thought it to be a summary of what those posts were.
And it includes your conclusion about what the original text meant, correct?
Perhaps, yes.
And it includes your conclusions and judgments about what the judicial officer needs to know before making a decision about probable cause, correct?
Well, sir, the judicial officer determines probable cause.
That wasn't my question. Do you need to hear the question again?
Yes.
All right, let's hear it.
And it includes your conclusions
and judgments about what the judicial officer needs to know before making a decision about probable cause, correct?
Yes.
Now, your paraphrases of these posts by Mr. Novak were your interpretations of the posts, correct?
Yes.
And a magistrate or other judicial officer deciding whether to issue a warrant has to rely on your paraphrasing if you don't quote or provide the screenshots, correct?
Yes.
And if you leave out key content, it could be misleading, correct?
It could be.
Okay. I'd like to take a quick 10-minute break, and then we'll either resume or break for lunch, either one. Okay. Well,
That because the phony Facebook page was so similar to ours that it purported to be the Parma Police.
so where did Mr. Novak's page say it represented the Parma Police Department?
It did not say that.
And the joke page was listed as a community page, correct? Not a law enforcement or government page, correct?
The fake page said community whatever on it.
Okay. I want to make sure that your answers to my questions are clear. I'm going to ask again. Mr. Novak's Facebook page about the Parma Police Department was listed on the page as a, quote, community, unquote, page, not law enforcement or government, correct?
That's correct.
And those categories, law enforcement or government, were categories available to Mr. Novak if he chose to designate them that way, correct?
I don't know.
Okay. But you have seen pages, including the Parma Police Department's own page, containing that type of designation, law enforcement or government, correct?
I have.
And Mr. Novak didn't do that, did he?
He did not use law enforcement or government.
Right. If you look at...
Okay, we are back on the record. It's 4:38, this number 4.
All right, we're still in paragraph 6 on Exhibit 7. And there's language there, correct me if I'm wrong, on the same exhibit. There were also numerous amounts of comments posted on the fake page, including "fuck the Parma Police." Do you see that?
Yes.
Now, you'd acknowledge Mr. Novak didn't say that, right?
That's true. He did
And
not.
if Mr. Novak had said that, that would have been constitutionally protected, right?
Yes.
And if Mr. Novak had caused somebody else to say that, that too would be constitutionally protected, correct?
Yes.
And you understand that clearly, right?
Yes.
How's that relevant to anything then? Why'd you
Just-
put that in the affidavit?
Just a representative comment
Well, representative of what?
of comments that were posted.
Except, how is that relevant to the issue of whether or not Mr. Novak disrupted, interrupted, or impaired police services?
Well, perhaps it's not relevant, but it is representative comment of what was there.
And that hurts your feelings, right? That there was such a representative comment?
No.
Well, that's why you picked it, right?
No.
So, to confirm, it's your understanding that not... Right. So the ultimate charging decision was the law director, correct?
Yes.
With input from you, correct?
Yes.
And you wanted to see a charge, correct? Against Mr. Novak.
Based on the evidence, yes.
A felony charge for disruption, correct?
Yes.
All right. Now, if you take a look at paragraph 8 of the affidavit, and I'm looking specifically at the language, correct me if I'm wrong, that says, quote, affiant avers that a search was conducted of Anthony Novak, herein referred to as Novak. Novak's Facebook page showed a post from March 2nd, 2016, which stated, and then there's a subquote, I'm going to say I woke up and feel very satisfied by my actions right now, end of the subquote. And a comment under the same post by Novak shows him stating, subquote, I'm not willing to do time for this, guys. You'll be leaving this city in a body bag, end of the subquote, end of the quote. Did I read that correctly?
Yes.
Now, why didn't you include the surrounding context for those posts by Mr. Novak?
I don't know.
And what was the surrounding context?
I don't know.
Well, you'd agree that there were other comments surrounding Mr. Novak's comment that he was responding to?
I don't recall with this particular section you're reading right now.
Okay. But you would have studied the context at the time?
I would have at least read it.
And if there were other comments to which Mr. Novak was responding to, you would have considered the relevance of that context, correct?
Yes.
So, again, we've covered this earlier in the deposition. I'm going to show you defendant's Bates number 17314, which is part of Exhibit 16. It's the last page of Exhibit 16. Mr. Travis is handing it to you. Let's look at Mr. Novak's comment in context. If you read the post, which you're familiar with, which is the homelessness post, and then read the comments in order, the post above is reposting his joke post about a new temporary law forbidding giving food to the homeless, right? It's Mr. Novak sharing on his personal Facebook page the comment that was on the joke Facebook page, correct?
So I'm following.
Sure.
You're referring to the homeless post at the bottom of the page, correct?
Yeah, I'm referring,
Okay.
yes.
Okay.
It's the temporary law forbidding giving food to the homeless post, right? And it's Mr. Novak sharing that
Correct.
on his own personal Facebook page, right?
Yes.
And this was part of the documents that were produced by Facebook in response to the search warrant that you caused to be obtained, correct?
Yes.
Now, Mr. Novak's friends, if you look at the comments, were asking for food, money, cigarettes, and drugs, right? Even if jokingly, that's what they were doing, right?
Yes.
And Mr. Novak responded that he was, by saying he wasn't doing time for this, like he would if that temporary law from the Post were real, right? That's the context?
I don't know what the context of that post
Well,
meant.
the context is a response to the friends that are asking for food, money, cigarettes, and drugs. That's what he's responding to, correct?
I don't know.
Well, can you not look at the page and determine that?
Well, sir, I can look at the page, but I don't know what that post is referring to.
His comment,
His comment.
it's in that thread, correct?
Where is his comment?
17314. Defense
Okay.
Bates number.
In the middle of the page.
So in other words, there's this guy named Thomas J. Weishampel, Weishampel, who says, "I'm not hungry, do you have any cigarettes or drugs?" The person before that, Jeremy Orges, O-R-G-E-S, says, "I'm hungry, do you have any food or money?" Right? You see those two comments?
Yes.
And right after that, Mr. Novak says, "I'm not willing to do time for this, guys. You'll be leaving the city in a body bag."
I think you may have the order reversed. Look at the time.
Well, each one says 4 hours. So
1 to
maybe
4
we're-
hours, 4 hours, 4.4 hours, 3 to 4 hours.
Yeah, so see what those are, Mr. Travis, are the number of likes, those thumbs up. Those are people liking the comment.
So it's,
And then next to that is the timestamp. So these are happening within, under a minute of each other or very close in time to each other. So if you look at the chronological order, you see Mr. Novak's comment follows Weishampel and Orges, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And so the context of it is Mr. Novak saying, "I'm not willing to do time for this, guys. You'll be leaving the city in a body bag." And the context is a suggestion that somehow one provide food or money or cigarettes or drugs to the homeless. Correct?
I disagree.
All right. Well, you certainly didn't disclose to the judicial officers that there were these comments to which Mr. Novak was responding, correct?
No.
Meaning you did not disclose, correct?
Correct.
All right. And similarly, Mr. Novak saying they'd be leaving the city in a body bag was a reference to that same post about the homeless, saying the goal was to have the homeless leave the city because of starvation, right?
I disagree, again, respectfully, with that particular context. I don't know what that is referring to.
Well, when you say you don't know what it's referring to, sir, I'm trying to understand. You're a detective who's investigating this case. You're a detective who's submitting sworn affidavits to the judges, to these judicial officers, correct?
Yes.
So are you telling me now, under oath, that when you disclose to the judicial officer just the comment that shows Mr. Novak stating, I'm not willing to do time for this guy as you'll be leaving the city in a body bag, that you had no responsibility to try to discern what the context was for his comment?
Sir, I don't know, again, what the context of his comment meant.
And you didn't know at the time you revealed this to the judicial officers, correct?
Sir, I was trying to
Go ahead.
more answer to my question.
Go ahead.
To me, and even as I look at this sitting here, I don't know what this is in referral to. I don't. I still don't.
You knew enough, though, to think that it was relevant to disclose to the judicial officers, right?
Yes.
Without any context at all, right?
Yes.
And wouldn't that leave a judicial officer who's looking at your affidavit, and I'd ask you to look at that paragraph again in the affidavit, couldn't that leave a judicial officer believing that Mr. Novak might be commenting about doing time for putting up this Facebook page about the Parma police?
I don't know.
You certainly didn't try to help the judicial officers by giving them any context for his posts, right?
I did not give the judicial officers context for his posts.
Okay. So nowhere in your various affidavits in front of you, Exhibits 5 through 8, do you say that Mr. Novak's Facebook page about the Parma police was a joke, right?
Correct.
Nowhere do you say that it was a parody of the Parma Police Department's actual Facebook page, correct?
Sir, I don't know if it was a parody or not.
Nowhere do you say in your affidavit that it was a parody, correct?
Correct.
Nowhere do you say that it was satire, correct?
Correct.
And nowhere do you disclose to the judicial officers that it was making fun of your fellow Parma police officers, correct?
That is not in the affidavit.
Would you agree that the meaning of words and phrases depends on their context?
Yes.
So if you cherry pick a word or phrase out of a document, it could be difficult to know what it means.
Yes.
And the meaning of a word or phrase may not always be literal.
Yes.
There could be sarcasm.
Yes.
The example I've given is one where somebody says, yeah, right. Depending on the context, that could either be a sarcastic response or it could be agreement, correct?
Correct.
Now, I think this is the stack of exhibits. Is this the one that you